Sometimes a royal story comes along that is so astonishing, it just takes your breath away. Today is one of those days because the late Queen's cousin is revealing the truth about what Elizabeth II really thought of Meghan Markle from beyond the grave. It's astonishing stuff. And look, what we learn from these astonishing revelations is that everything that I have reported for the past 7 years is completely true. All of those people close to Harry and Meghan who tried to say that I was wrong when I said the late Queen, who was furious on the day of the wedding, said that she hadn't dressed down Harry, that no, she was supportive of Meghan. They were all wrong. And I'm going to take you through this in the most extraordinary detail, and it matters because of the history books. Because it matters given that Meghan has absolutely tried to portray a false impression of the royal family. So this has emerged in the Substack, and I want to give it huge credit, the Substack of Sally Bedell-Smith. She is the very famous royal biographer, highly respected woman. And can I just say, I love the fact that we're learning all of this incredible information via a Substack. This is the new media. This is the independent media revolution. I have been telling you for the past 18 months that you cannot trust the Royal Rota, that you will only get the truth from independent sources of royal journalism like Sally Bedell-Smith and like my own Substack, www.outspoken.live, where you will get access to our coverage every single weekday. So let me take you through this story. And it all relates to the late Queen's cousin, Elizabeth Anson. Now, these two were closer than almost anyone could be to the late Queen. Elizabeth would actually refer to the Queen as Jemima. And they were so close that the late Queen would actually love attending dinner parties at her house. This was a trusted friendship that dated back decades. They were relatives, and actually they had become almost best friends to the point where the late Queen was prepared to share in intimate detail what she really thought of everything, including members of the royal family. So that's the context in which Sally Bedell-Smith makes these incredible revelations, because she had a close relationship with Lady Elizabeth Anson. Let's just be clear about this. Lady Elizabeth Anson, the late Queen's cousin, was her deep throat, was the type of source that most royal reporters can only dream of having. Because this woman was literally reporting information to her directly told to her by the late Queen Elizabeth II. And all of this context is so important because it explains why what I'm about to take you through and what Sally Bedell-Smith has published in her brilliant Royal Extra Substack should be treated as historical fact. The late Queen couldn't stand Meghan Markle, and it was nothing to do with her race. It was to do with her disrespectful treatment to both her and the monarchy from day one. And the look on the Queen's face that wedding day, well, it told you everything you needed to know about how she really felt about this woman. Okay, here's the headline. An insider's view of the royal family. With parties at Dudley House, quiet dinners with close friends, and celebrations for her 80th and 90th birthdays, everything was going happily for the Queen. Until Harry met Meghan. Meghan could turn nothing into trouble. Harry wrote to me and said they were going another way. We're called Lisa. Now, Lisa is the name that Sally Bedell-Smith uses for Lady Elizabeth Anson. He said, I am close to my grandmother and she is content with this. When I spoke with the Queen, she said she is not content at all. Lisa was not upset, but she added, Meghan could turn into nothing but trouble. She sees things in a different way. According to Lisa, the Queen was dismayed that Harry had asked the Archbishop of Canterbury to perform the wedding service in St. George's Chapel without first requesting permission from the Dean of Windsor. Harry seems to think the Queen can do what she wants, but she can't, said Lisa. On the religious side, it is the Dean of Windsor's jurisdiction. As a result, Lisa said that Harry had blown his relationship with his grandmother. She said she was really upset. I was shocked when the Queen told me this, how she was so saddened. I had no idea about the conversation. That he was rude to her for 10 minutes. They had tea with her the day before yesterday. She was trying to find out about the wedding dress and Meghan wouldn't tell her. So let's just think about that for 1 minute. Prince Harry treating the greatest living monarch at the time, and I would argue actually the greatest British monarch of all time, with so much disrespect that he berated her on the phone for 10 minutes. Now, of course, I first reported that phone call. But to hear the Queen's cousin actually point out the emotional impact, the toll that it took on the late Queen, it chills me. And then the late Queen so determined to build some type of relationship with Meghan Markle, in part because she knew that Meghan Markle was a troublemaker who was probably going to accuse her of racism at some point. And so she asked her about the dress. She asked her about the damn wedding dress. And Meghan withholds that information? What? She thinks the Queen's going to leak it? Ridiculous. Back to this incredible reporting from Sally Bedell-Smith. When we spoke 2 weeks before the May 19th wedding, Lisa, that is of course Lady Elizabeth Anson, had just heard from the Queen. The number one lady, I call her Jemima, so Jemima is now a code name for the Queen, says the jury is out on whether she likes Meghan. My Jemima is very worried. In Lisa's view, Harry is besotted and weak about women. We hope, but don't quite think she is in love. And then this is the line. This is the key line, folks. We think she engineered it all. So can we just take one moment to think about this? This is the late Queen telling her cousin, her closest confidant, that Meghan Markle was never in love with Prince Harry and that she believes Meghan Markle engineered the relationship. That is a nuclear bomb just dropping. All royal reporters should be covering this. Back to the Substack. 1 week ahead of the wedding, Lisa asked the Queen if it seemed rather odd for Meghan to be arriving with her mother. Lisa said that since Thomas Markle can't do steps, he would enter through a side door and meet his daughter at the main entrance to the chapel. Meghan and William and Kate are not working well, said Lisa. That is what the Queen said, particularly about the two girls. It's worrying that so many people are questioning whether Meghan is right for Harry. The problem, bless his heart, is that Harry is neither bright nor strong, and she is both. The next headline, I don't trust Meghan an inch. Thomas Markle did not appear, of course, pleading health problems, so Prince Charles accompanied Meghan to the altar. At age 96, Prince Philip walked unaided throughout the wedding service and reception. He'd been practicing, by the way, earlier in the blog you find out Prince Philip had been practicing for weeks in order to try and walk at the ceremony. The world fell in love with Meghan, and the Queen warmly welcomed her. But rumbles of discord began to emerge in the autumn. And by late February 2019, when Lisa and I spoke on the phone, she said, I don't trust Meghan an inch. To begin with, she was not bad. A straightforward starlet used to public speaking and charity work. The wedge between the brothers is really too bad. Lady Elizabeth Anson died in 2020. So she was unable to report to Sally Bedell-Smith what then went on. But her historic record of how Prince Harry and Meghan Markle treated the late Queen and how the late Queen really felt about Meghan Markle is astonishing. This is a huge story. Only the Daily Mail has even bothered to cover it today, with a piece by Robert Jobson headlined, he's a good guy by the way, Robert Jobson, with a piece headlined, "A senior courtier told me what Harry and Meghan did to the heartbroken Queen. His biting words never left me, and now the explosive truth is out." And Robert Jobson wrote in this article, "In early 2019, not long after the wedding, a senior courtier shared something that has stayed with me ever since. The boss is not happy, he said. She doesn't get all the celebrity stuff. She thinks Harry is throwing it all away. For what? The Queen's values were clear. She had given her whole life to the crown, and she expected, if not complete devotion to duty, and at least respect from those she loved most. She didn't view Harry and Meghan as revolutionaries. She saw them as absentees, rejecting not only their roles, but her as well." Big news! Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may. But of course, nothing compares to these fascinating words from Lady Elizabeth Anson, revealing from beyond the grave how the late Queen really thought about Meghan Markle. Our royal mastermind, Angela Levin, Prince Harry's biographer, who has also been across this story for many years and has previously revealed the terrible treatment that Harry unleashed on his grandmother, joins me now. Angela, wow, it's not often we're blown away, is it?
No.
But this is huge. This is huge. And the words from Lady Elizabeth Anson from beyond the grave show exactly how the late Queen felt about Meghan Markle. This feels like history.
Yes, I liked her very much. I knew her quite well, actually. And she did a couple of parties that she invited me to, which were wonderful. The Queen wasn't there, but she did them because she made lots of parties and meals for people. And she was
a great woman.
Very honourable, nice, funny woman. But you think that what she held all those years, I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? But she was very loyal. And in a way, I feel that it's a relief that it's come out, because people like you and me, we've known that Meghan is just awful, that she looks for trouble. We know how she controls Harry. And yet, we're sort of told off, as it were, by an awful lot of people, or they don't want to listen to us or what we write. I get that anyway sometimes. On the other hand, I get people who say, well done, so I'm sure you do as well. Let's not deny that. But it's the wording that is so fascinating. It's, every sentence, every word is absolutely enormous and wipes you out, actually.
Yes.
Absentees is absolutely terrible. That, nothing to do with the royal family and nothing to do with the Queen. And she loved Harry for many years. He was the second born, and he was funny and enjoyable, and she really loved him. But when Meghan came, he wasn't allowed to, I imagine, and he didn't want to, because everything had to be what Meghan wanted, and everything still has to be what Meghan wants. And it's actually, I'm quite pleased that it's now out, and I hope that other newspapers and people will say something about it, because it is disgusting, isn't it? It's how you could deal like that. The most wonderful monarchy that we have ever known. And I don't mean that in age, but the person who is so giving to the people, it's just it's really shocking that she could have to go that when her husband was ill and when she was ill. There was no stopping. On and on and on Meghan goes. And the lies that she told with Oprah Winfrey is just breathtaking. And the thing that she said, she made this ridiculous comment that she didn't know how to curtsy before she went in. She made a big fuss about that. We saw a very disgusting one that she did for Netflix, but she said it's ridiculous. Who on earth should ever do that, curtsy. It's absolutely ridiculous. And all these things were little things. It doesn't mean much. It's just the right way to behave, so you do it. And she didn't want even to give anything. And the fact about her dress, which was a really plain, nothing, not very interesting dress, that's the sort of mockery she was doing. But that was later. And I believe that she did what you said. She thought she would leak it to the newspapers because she's so obsessed with being famous that she wants anything that she wants with the newspapers, and she wants people to stop anything that she doesn't want. And she says she doesn't. She's always kind. She's very looking after people. She loves them very much. But here's something later that actually highlights that sort of ghastly behaviour again. But this is what she wanted, that the Queen didn't want, but the Queen would want to do that with the BBC and the ITV, and everybody would know what her dress was like before she came down. I mean, how can anybody with any sense and good behaviour think that that's the right way to behave to a queen? But it just shows you she's awful to everyone, isn't she? She attacks the king now, she attacks all the people, the royal family, her brother, her sister-in-law, anyone she wipes out. And of course, she's wiped out Harry for most of the time. So this is something that is just a relief it's out, but it's very, very sad that when you look at her face now at the wedding, or you look at her with Meghan, where she's trying to get things a bit better, how terribly sad she is. Now, have you ever seen a mother-in-law look like that on a very, very adored son? When he gets married, absolutely not. But she knows there's nothing she can do about her because she's the one in charge, and she has been, and she is.
Harry was completely tone deaf, wasn't he? Because even in Spare, he recalls the moment when he had to ask the late Queen's permission to marry Meghan. He's not happy about it at all. He hates that tradition. And let's just say Elizabeth II was lukewarm at best. I think what's also really important to point out here, Angela, is just how deep the relationship between Lady Elizabeth Ansell and the late Queen was. So she died in November 2020, right? So the late Queen already knew at that point, because remember, they weren't able to see each other in person because of the COVID lockdown. So she already knew by the end of 2019, before Megxit, right, exactly what a piece of work Meghan Markle was. And for anyone saying, oh, what, because this is what the Sussex squad will say, what did Lady Elizabeth Ansell knew? She was just a party planner. What did she know? Let me tell you, she was arguably the closest, certainly in the top 5 closest people on earth to the late Queen. And just a little bit of colour to back that up, Angela. They spoke on the phone multiple times a week. So even if they weren't in person with each other, which they usually were, by the way, because the late Queen wanted to be with her, but they spoke on the phone multiple times a week. And friends of the pair said that they were so close, Angela, that their bond went so deep that they actually finished each other's sentences.
Well, it's the way they were both brought up. She was brought up as a royal just as much as the Queen was, and she understood the Queen. And so that there was someone she could really, really trust, because she knows about her, how she lives and what she's like. She's known her since she was a child. And so that way she could feel safe. And actually, for a queen, it's very, very difficult to find someone you can trust. But she obviously trusted her. And that is absolutely extraordinary and wonderful, that she had someone who she could really trust. Because apart from her husband, and he wouldn't be interested in girly talk, really, he adored her to bits, but he wouldn't be there listening to what you might call, woman to woman conversation about, can I really believe this? I don't really think I can, but it is too terrible for words. What does it happen? But I can't stop it. I just can't stop it. And I think that must have eaten her up and made her feel very ill on and off because she usually could work around something. She could talk to the person and be either a bit cross or actually kind and say, please don't behave like that. We don't do that. I hope you don't mind, but this is the way that I like it. And I'm the queen. I know, but she could trust her with everything. She didn't have to explain. And it's at least a bit of a relief that she's got someone who is trustworthy.
Indeed. And you can imagine Angela, the late Queen, and Lady Elizabeth Anson talking. And the way
Yes.
that they summed up Harry and that relationship with Harry and Meghan is just completely spot on. Again, because this is such a significant seismic quote, I just want to read it out once more, Angela.
Yes, the last one.
Yeah, Harry is besotted and weak about women. We hope, but don't quite think she is in love. And then the kicker, Angela, we think she engineered it all. Now, remember, for years, Angela, the Sussex squad have tried to say that people like us who have said that are either racist or anti-Meghan or conspiracists or any of that. This is coming from the late Queen Elizabeth II herself.
Yes. The other one that was good is that Harry was neither bright nor strong. She is both. So they could read that and have that perfect sentence, isn't it, as well? And what do? You're saying a whole lot. But what is appalling is that, even if you don't like the family and you don't like things, you don't try and attack them. You don't try and make them look bad. You don't accuse them like she's done for being racist, but she says now that she never did. And it just makes you really, really feel hopeful that they cannot come back to the UK. All these, trying to be lovely and nice, and they want to come back and they want to help and they want to be a bit more for their children. They want to see their family. No, absolutely no. And I hope that this actually will stop it because of in respect to the Queen. They should just stop it, not allow it. And I think the King will actually also feel shocked to his toes, really, because she might not have told him because she knew he was next, and maybe she just didn't want to. He had enough on his plate, sort of thing, and that's it. They must not come back. So all these court cases and all this nonsense, I don't know why they want it, why Harry wants it. It's just, we don't want him. Thank you very much. You stay with Meghan and you look after her and she looks after you. Ha ha. And just get on with it. I think it's very important that they don't come back now. And you can see that with William and Catherine, they will be absolutely delighted that this has come out because it says they didn't get on well with them, especially the two girls. Quite right. Catherine could see right through her from the start.
Well, indeed. And Angela, again, and this really isn't about doing any type of I told you so. That isn't what this is about. Why I think this is so important is that you trust and that our audience trusts that what we have been saying for all of these years, dating back in my case to 2018, is accurate. It was anchored in totally correct sourcing that we could not reveal because, of course, we do not reveal our sources. And I mean, I was writing, Angela, I just looked at this in November 2018. The Duchess of Sussex and the Duchess of Cambridge don't particularly like each other. There I said it. This week, many royal correspondents and commentators, the vast majority in the pocket of the PR teams for the royal households, tap danced and tiptoed around the thorny issue. And of course, in my case, absolutely not. I was prepared to tell it as it is. And this all broke, Angela, on the 9th of November 2018, when I reported that the Queen, and this was in the Sun newspaper, but remember, I wasn't part of the royal rota, and at the time, royal correspondents just refused to follow the story up. They're very snobby. They work as a pact. And I reported the Queen warned Prince Harry over Meghan Markle's behaviour and attitude before their wedding following a row over the bride's tiara. The extraordinary intervention from the monarch came after tense negotiations over what Meghan could wear. And the reality is, Angela, it was a hell of a lot worse than that. But it's just fascinating to me that very often the official royal reporters, do you know what I mean? The stenographers and the people who follow them around don't really know what they're talking about. They do swallow PR spin, which just isn't accurate.
Yes, I got two things actually. One was, I mean, I was one of the people to take through the wedding. So I was up at 4 a.m. until 10 o'clock at night. And I had a wonderful time. I thought it was wonderful. But I just sort of kept looking at the way Meghan was pulling his hand and pushing his hand. And I thought that was very strange. But other than that, it was just lovely. But roll on, a few weeks later, I went to Nottingham, which was Meghan's first visit with Harry. And she was very good, freezing cold, raining. She was very good, and people along the line. But when we were all going inside, and these were the leaders of different charities, she pushed him out the way. This is the first thing. She pushed him out the way, went forward, shook hands, and started talking to him. Harry very politely stood at the back, as he's always done. It makes me shiver. And I thought, oh no, this is absolutely terrible. She's a nightmare. She's going to be an absolute nightmare, because nobody who was a real genuine person would actually push forward, push our new husband out of the way when he's still a prince and you're Miss Nothing. You know, hang on there, girl. And so that from that time, I realised that she was a nightmare.
You knew. And you knew, Angela, just from seeing her in action, seeing the way that she behaved.
And that's why I've disliked her all the way through, because I know that she's a very nasty person and she's very nasty with him. And all the things when she tries to be absolutely wonderful is only if they actually help her. She's just very cruel.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle first met in 2016 and quickly became one of the most talked-about couples in the world. Their relationship developed rapidly, and within 2 years they were married in a globally televised royal wedding at Windsor Castle in May 2018. The wedding attracted millions of viewers worldwide and marked a historic moment for the royal family, as Meghan became the first American to marry into the monarchy in decades. As the head of the royal family, Queen Elizabeth II played an important formal role in the marriage. Under royal protocol, senior royals must receive the monarch's consent before marrying. The Queen gave her official approval for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding and publicly welcomed Meghan into the royal family. Because the Queen rarely commented publicly on private family matters, most stories about her personal opinions come from royal commentators, books, or unnamed sources rather than direct statements. The headline suggests that the Queen may have believed Meghan Markle intentionally guided or engineered the relationship leading to the marriage. In many royal commentary discussions, this type of claim appears as speculation about motives or personal dynamics within the relationship. However, there is no verified public record confirming that Queen Elizabeth II ever made such a statement. Stories like this continue to circulate because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle remain two of the most talked-about figures connected to the royal family. Since stepping back from royal duties in 2020, their interviews, documentaries, and public statements have fueled ongoing debate about their relationship with the monarchy. Because of this ongoing attention, new rumors and interpretations about past royal events frequently resurface online. Tensions between Prince Harry and other members of the royal family have been widely reported in recent years. These reports often lead commentators to revisit earlier moments in the couple's relationship and speculate about what senior royals may have thought at the time. However, the royal family rarely confirms or denies such private discussions. In the end, the video likely explores speculation about what Queen Elizabeth II may have thought about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's relationship. While the headline presents a dramatic claim that Meghan engineered the marriage, there is currently no confirmed evidence that the Queen made such a statement. As with many royal stories online, separating speculation from verified information is essential when evaluating these claims.